what? That wouldn't fucking surprise me. Alright, there should be a talk around here somewhere.
Over on this side, guys. Tried to give you a ride to it, but you're Marines as always. Which one of you is in charge?
That would be me.
And your name is?
First Lieutenant Tulo.
Lieutenant Tulo, nice to meet you. My name's Mark Stanton. I'm the SOG team leader for Phantom 2. I'm running operations out of here. By way of introduction, do you have any of the other MSOT team leads with you here?
We have Gunnery Sergeant Faulkner from MSOT 8321. He's behind you. Then we have First Lieutenant Spike from Aviation. At this time, there is no one else here from MSOT HQs.
Okay. I didn't know we were getting aviation assets. They'll want to be flying back home. There's nothing for them to do up here. Sorry, Lieutenant. Somebody gave you some bad orders. I assume the others are going to be on the next flight out.
Affirm.
Okay. In that case, welcome to Cop Endurance. I'll give you the quick tour if you'll follow me this way. Over here we have the two primary tents. These are for the SOG team, Phantom 2, and for the ODA. Over here is the lieutenant for the ODA team. This is Lieutenant Bernard.
Sure.
Not in the military anymore. Anyway, inside here is the TOC. This is where we're running operations out of. Over here is the motor pool, very briefly. Up there is our sniper tower where we've got good old Tom Porter up there keeping an eye on us. So if you guys will just follow me in here.
What? That...
Take a seat.
Lock it up.
Hey, gentlemen. Welcome to Cop Endurance. As you guys should have been briefed, having flown out of Herat. This is the farthest north territory that U.S. and coalition forces currently have inside Afghanistan. If you have a look over here, this is the basic map of the AO. Each of you as well should have been given a map, so you can have a look there. I should have been briefed on the task force, I believe. So here's the lovely presentation, because it's the military. They wanted me to do one. This is Operation Bloodhound. Assets currently in field from Task Force Cobra. We have SOG Team 2. Hi, that's me. We're running standard combat operations. We're running the overall mission structure, and we're doing standard, what you guys call us, spook stuff. We also have ODA 1412, which is led up by Lieutenant Bernard, who you just met, who's stationed here, and we have ODA 1413, which is currently out, excuse me, on the edge of Kinduf, conducting some initial reconnaissance on the Northern Alliance. Finally, we have you guys, who are going to be tasked with the direct action operations for the AO primarily. Okay, here's your intel bluff. You can read all that. I'm not going to talk about all of that. Long story short, ISIS detonated a chemical weapon. That was not brilliant. We had done an okay job of getting everything back to normal up until that point, but it kind of threw things for a spin. ISIS, Taliban was nearly destroyed, but they came back due to public support. ISIS has been punching in on some of their territory as well. Long story short, the coalition is basically withdrawn from the area of Afghanistan that we're in right now. Aside from that, the next section there, there's a group of political moderates that have banded together called the Northern Alliance. That's basically a callback to the late 90s thing by the same name. Yeah, that's about that. Guys have any questions? Feel free to make yourself look a bit stupid and ask. No? Cool. Moving on. Here is the basic control of the area. You'll see the little key at the bottom. Your individual map should also have this. Basically, ISIS controls the western section of the AO. Taliban controls the east. Northern Alliance controls the major cities at the north and south, but don't have the manpower to control basically anything else. and the bit in the middle is pretty much no man's land. As I said, ISIS has been punching in on some of the Taliban's territory, so the two are not on the best of terms with each other at the moment. So that middle area, you could be shot at by any of the three factions, I can't tell you. Also, slightly important point, given that the coalition withdrew, we basically have no intel on this area. We've been here for a couple days conducting some initial reconnaissance, but we've got not a lot to go on. So we know that the enemy's being supplied by a lot of by a gun runner who's given him a lot of anti-air systems. So as I alluded to, the poor pilot who got the wrong orders, there's not going to be much for him to do. So yeah, that's that. Does anybody have any questions about the territory control before I move on, so you guys don't get lost and shot by the wrong people halfway through?
I have a question.
Speak up, son.
What about the east side of the map that's not colored?
Son, you really got to speak up. I can't hear you.
What about the east side of the map that's not colored?
That's colored black. The screen is apparently old. That's Taliban controlled.
Gotcha.
So basically, west is ISIS, east is Taliban. About that. Any other
Got
questions?
one question for you, Stanton.
Yep.
Currently, since ISIS and Taliban usually share the traditional same buildings, are they actively fighting against one another?
Not actively. Like I said, ISIS has been punching in on some of Taliban's territory. A lot of their fighters have come here. They've split basically between Africa here and the Philippines after the whole Iraq-Syria ISIS collapse thing. We have some intel that's confirmed that some fractured ISIS-Iranian contacts have pushed a lot of their more radical fighters to this area. So they're taking territory and trying to set themselves up. We don't exactly know further than that why they're encroaching on territory. It's not like they're at all at war with each other. Their relationship with each other is obviously deteriorating, but they're still terrorists.
One other regarding the Northern Alliance.
Yeah.
Have they voiced active support or neutrality towards us, or are we not unknown in the region still?
So my team made contact with them yesterday or the day before. I can't keep track. It's all kind of blurring together. We've had some initial sit-downs with their leadership. I'll get to that on the PowerPoint later. But basically, Northern Alliance, they've fought ISIS and the Taliban to a standstill at the moment. They don't have the manpower to push out farther than that. So we should, for the time being, until more contact can be established, which is primarily going to be the job of Phantom 2 and the ODAs, while you guys focus on more of the direct action stuff. For the time being, consider them potentially sympathetic to U.S. interests, but not necessarily allies. You guys are fairly likely to get shot at by them just as long as everybody else. That kind of answer your question?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm not a sir. What was your name? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Bohannon.
Bohannon. And you are I don't see
Staff
a rank on you. Staff Sergeant. Staff Sergeant Bohannon. Nice to meet you. Okay, moving on through here. We have the Northern Alliance. This is what they look like if you guys can see through the kind of terrible screen there. I'll give you guys kind of a hand copy of that after we finish up here so you can have a better look. Basically, Northern Alliance, they can wear Soviet bloc weapons, or carry Soviet bloc weapons, as you can see there. The man dresses, the official term is the Pehran and the Tunban. The Pehran is the top bit, Tunban is the lower bit. So the Northern Alliance wears camouflaged top bits and non-camouflaged bottom bits. Anybody have any questions about that in simple man speak? Cool. So they do possess, from what we've seen, a very limited arsenal of BTRs along with just the regular technicals that they have, because the ANA is sloppy as hell and they leave crap behind, including BTRs, which, what can you do? It's the ANA. So as I said, we made some basic contact with them. This is an order as an operational directive. Make every effort not to engage the Northern Alliance. I don't need you guys going in and mucking up my team's work. I don't need me to get shot at more. I don't need this to be more difficult. So don't engage them. If they shoot at you, great. Return fire, break contact. It should be a very rare situation where you guys decide you're going to go toe-to-toe with the Northern Alliance and go kill some of them. Am I making myself clear there?
If I'm Mark.
Okay. They're also believed to possess man-pads. I'll get to this. There's basically an international gun runner who's set up shop kind of in the northern area, and he's supplying all three groups, leaning a little bit more towards the Taliban. So all of the factions possess man-pads and anti-air weapon systems. We think that the Taliban and ISIS possess more than the Northern Alliance, but again, all intel is rudimentary at this point. Moving on, next group, we have the Taliban. Okay, same group of people. Very similar to the Northern Alliance, except they don't wear camouflage tunbands, or pehrans, excuse me. And they normally wear balaclavas, shamags, masks, that kind of stuff. They don't like to be seen as much. They, similar to everybody else, this is just going to be standard. They have limited arsenal BTRs, standard technicals, that kind of crap. These guys are openly hostile against us, and every standard coalition forces, they're also hostile against the Northern Alliance. You guys have no limiting ROE on them. Engage, kill them as you see fit, provided it meets all other ROE. And we believe them to possess a substantial amount of man-pads. Any questions on the Taliban? And their jihad. Moving on. ISIS. Soviet bloc weapons. They have more uniform kind of stuff, but it's kind of mismatched desert woodland stuff. Standard ISIS. BTRs, same thing. Openly hostile, same thing. Deteriorating Asia, same thing. Any questions on them? Cool.
Negative.
Okay, moving on to the actual HVTs. So, between all three MSODs, you guys have been tasked with 3 HVTs, and we'll move on from there. First HVT is Sandstone. His name is Daud al-Imriki. This translates to David the American. That is, as you perceive it, an American who was radicalized after living in Yemen with his family years ago. Obviously, he speaks English. Due to him living in Yemen, he also speaks Arabic. That's made him very effective for ISIS. He's grown quickly in the ranks. He's an excellent recruiter. He's an excellent saboteur. He has an intricate knowledge of English and U.S. society, so that makes him very, very dangerous. He's in country. He's the first target here. He is believed, if you guys will have a look at the map, to be running a training and recruitment out of the village of Kandar. If you guys look at the maps on the northern side, I'll switch to the next slide here so you can have a look at it. It's the village of Kandar. It's about 4 kilometers to the west of the controlled Northern Alliance city. We think that's probably an ISIS stronghold, but you guys will probably have to do some in-foot reconnaissance there. Any question? Oh, I'll go back to his actual thing here just for profile. He's going to be the only white guy that you see. It's going to be fairly easy. 6'1", Caucasian, usually wears a turban. That's a recent propaganda photo that they've posted to social media. So you can see him quite prominently there on the right side. Any questions about Sandstone?
No questions.
Commander's here.
Oh, Captain, I believe? Captain Whelan?
Yes, Captain. I haven't had a chance to sew on my new rank tabs.
Much. Mark Stanton, by way of introduction. I'm the Phantom 2 team leader here running operations.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm sure one of your subordinates can bring you up to speed on what you missed.
I've already received the briefing.
Okay, understood. Next is going to be Mikhail Vashchenko with the brevity term Rhinestone. This is the international gun runner that I alluded to. He's a Belarusian national, and he is one of the most well-known arms dealers, smugglers in the world. I was briefed that I believe Alpha Company, you guys, had interactions with Viktor Vasiliev, Roughcoat. That ring a bell for anybody? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, cool. Anyway, so the two have met, the two have worked together, just so you know. He basically commands his own private military, which makes things interesting. He's eluded capture up until this point, largely because of that. They're on his payroll. They're paid very, very well. They're former Russian and Belarusian military. They're well-trained, very well-equipped. He's well-connected, so they have access to military-grade weapons, equipment, vehicles, this kind of stuff. He is a pain in my ass, is the long and short of that. He's 6 foot, Caucasian. He smokes cigars because who doesn't love a good cigar? And he carries that lovely scorpion there. He's fluent in Russian, English, and Arabic. And he is a kill, not a capture. I forgot to mention the radicalized American. He's also a kill. Both of these people have evaded capture. We don't need them on the battlefield. We kill them. Don't capture them. Just find them, eliminate them, get rid of them. Any questions on Rhinestone at his personal briefing?
One question
Answer.
regarding his PMC force or his general bodyguards.
Yeah.
Are they of Arabic nationality or are they from Belarus around the
They're
Baltic states?
Russian and Belarusian former military.
Understood. So
No,
are we
they're-
expecting any higher end equipment or training from these guys?
Yes. Again, they're all well-trained former Russian and Belarusian military. And again, he's well-connected. We've seen this particular image. The next image has a zoomed-out one. This is them unloading cargo from a big old flying potato there. So we've seen that. We've seen gases. We've seen BTRs on occasion, though he hasn't seemed he's a gun smuggler, so he hasn't been too fond of going super up armored. But his gases have grenade launchers and standard 50 cals and stuff on top of them. I'm serious. These guys are well trained. They're well funded. So you get rid of them, but be careful about this one. Does that answer your question, Staff Sergeant Bohannon?
Yes, that's my
Cool.
question.
I'll work on learning names as I get to know all of you guys going through here. So this is the quick briefing about that. Soviet black weaponry, large arsenal of AAAT. He supplies everybody, so if everybody else has got it. He's got better, he's got more. All of his personal military are loyal to him personally, mostly made up of former Russian, Belarusian military, and they've got access to military grade stuff, all that crap I just told you. Is the AO. It's just above the town of Kandar. It's a religious site, kind of up in the hills to the northwest of that city. Best we can tell from the informants that we've got is that he's established that as kind of a come to me and I'll give you guns, money, and or you give me money and I'll give you guns. We believe at the moment that all three factions are going to him for supplies: ISIS, the Northern Alliance, and the Taliban. That position is well situated. It's on a hill. It's got quite a commanding presence of the valley below him. Basically lets him say, hey, everybody, you come up to me. I'll give you your stuff. It's on my terms. And again, his own private military, they command that area. Obviously, the local populace isn't too pleased with him taking over a religious site, but, you know, hi-ho, Belarusian national, what are you going to do? Any questions about Rhinestone?
I have a question, Stan.
Yeah, go for it.
So you were saying that basically he's supplying the rest of the guys basically with weapons and all that. I'm
Yep.
assuming that's also including the Taliban and ISIS.
Yes, so like I said, all three factions, Taliban, ISIS, Northern Alliance, everybody's buying from him. He's supplying everybody. He has, to our knowledge, from years of trying to track this idiot down, he's got no political motive whatsoever. He's in it for the money. He'll sell guns and ammunition to absolutely anybody who can pay for it. So he doesn't care. As long as you can pay him, he'll give you guns.
War brings out all the rats.
Basically.
Second to that question, so you were saying he also has better than what ISIS and all the other guys do, so are we looking at AK-74s instead of just 47s?
Presumably. Like I said, he supplies them, so yeah. Short answer, yes.
I got a question.
Copy.
If we know where he is now, why don't we just blow him up?
I still can't hear you.
I have a question. If we know where he is now, why don't we blow him up? Can we hit him
Oh,
with a
I'm
missile
getting
or
to that.
something?
I'll get to that. Any other questions?
I did regarding your context on him taking a religious site.
Yeah.
You being I assume the operation director here.
Yep.
How minimal contact do you want to have with civilian populace?
As minimal as you can make it. Given the chemical weapons attack, the civilians don't like us. We're not in a good place. Again, northern Afghanistan got so bad after the chemical weapons attack and the assassination of the political leaders that coalition forces in the ANA just up and pulled out, straight out. That's the area we're in right now. It's bad. So civilians don't like us. They've turned a lot to the Taliban for support and leadership and that kind of stuff. So expect it to be bad. Try and keep contact to a minimum. They'll probably run away from you, but you know they're definitely going to report on you if they see you.
Understood.
Any other questions? Cool. Bloodstone. This is our final HVT. Malik al-Ransur. This guy is the current leader of Taliban forces, period. He's taken a step away from the normal kind of decentralized hierarchy system. He's put himself in the field. He's commanding operations. He is the undisputed Taliban commander. It's given him enormous control and power, but obviously it's also made him a target, and that's going to be an opportunity that we exploit. So, he's 5'7", he's Arab, he wears traditional Afghan clothing, usually with a turban, a shmag, and a vest. He speaks both Persian and Arabic fluently, and at the moment, we believe he's based out of eastern Afghanistan near the town of Zarath, but that's unconfirmed. Again, as stated before, I'll say it again, we have very rudimentary intel on all of this stuff. It's mostly guesswork. We think most of these people are in these places due to what we've got from informants. But as I told you, the civilians don't like us very much. So we've got, you guys will meet him later. Daniel, he's off that way somewhere pulling security. He's our Middle Eastern deep cover and translator. He's been doing a lot of work over the last little bit here and interfacing with previous assets that we had, trying to establish a better picture of what's going on here, but we still don't know a whole lot. So all of this intel on locations, we're going to get you guys in the field. You're going to have a look at it, and it's all subject to change based on what you guys see. Does that kind of make sense to everybody?
Loud and clear.
Cool. This guy is a capture. He's the leader of the Taliban. We want to extract as much information as we can from him. We were so close to dismantling and utterly wiping out the Taliban until ISIS came in and screwed it up by detonating that chemical weapon. So if we can capture him, we can find out everything that he knows, and we can dismantle it from outside in and inside out. Taliban, bye-bye. That makes all of our lives a lot easier. So he's a capture. If you absolutely have to, kill him if capture is entirely impossible. But I want this guy alive. Does that make sense?
Understood.
Cool. Here's the mission assignments. So, 8311, you guys are tasked with Bloodstone. 8312, you guys were Sandstone. 8321, Rhinestone. As stated, heavy AA net. We have no locations, no knowledge of enemy locations, no dispositions of their AA. We just know they've got a lot of it. So, helicopters, not allowed at all in this AO. You fly up somewhere, you're going to get shot down. That's just the way it works. We're not even going to risk the assets. At the moment, all of our fixed-wing assets are tasked elsewhere in the country, trying to prevent what happened in the north from happening everywhere else in Afghanistan. So, we don't really have any fixed-wing assets available to us at the moment. Drone strikes, same sort of deal. That's the reason why they've sent in Task Force Cobra, is that theoretically, well, at least that's the theory of US SOCOM and the people putting all that together, is that us, glorious group of bastards, are able to handle that all by ourselves. This is the test bed, so I guess we'll find out or not, so you guys better be as good as they say you are. So that's the deal there. Fixed wing, as I said, basic standard troops in contact stuff applies. If it's an absolute emergency, you guys can try and reroute one of the fixed wing aircraft elsewhere in country to you guys. Minimum response time is probably going to be about 15 minutes upwards from that, depending. And it's really going to vary depending on what they have in the area. So I would not rely on that at all. That makes sense to all y'all?
Makes sense.
Cool. You guys are free to accomplish it however you like. As I pointed out, the motor pool out there, you've got basically 3 razors per each MSOT. So I'd recommend you guys take those and infill. So if you guys have a look at the map, you've got quite a significant distance between here and both of your AOs, as I've put in the next slide. Basically, every hill and valley we have to assume is enemy held. They've got camps everywhere. They've taken this opportunity to undisputed seize control of the area. So inserting is not going to be a cakewalk. You guys are going to have to use some quick thinking, some careful route planning, this kind of stuff. probably going to get shot at a fair amount as you guys do this. So, you know, up to you guys. That's why you're going and not me. I would recommend once you guys get into your AOs that you establish some initial reconnaissance, try and confirm whether or not our HVTs are actually there or not, and then go about however you guys are going to go accomplish your objectives from there. But then, again, it's up to you guys. You're the jarheads on this. So, yeah. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah, go
for
for
LT.
it.
One question we have is from. We want to know if there's any friendly artillery, howitzers, or anything of that sort that we can utilize.
Not at the moment. I was working on getting some mortars flown in up here, but you know how the chain of command works. We might get some, we might not. I've asked for it. We'll see if they show up.
Copy that. That's all I had.
Any other questions?
My question was this: talking about fixed artillery.
Yeah, nothing in the immediate area. We don't have anything with the range in Herat or elsewhere. Most of that stuff is kind of central Afghanistan to eastern Afghanistan, where we've got the most stuff. Again, I've asked for it. We'll see.
Copy that.
I have a question.
An answer.
Have you guys been attacked here?
We've taken a couple of pot shots over that way, but again, we've only been here for 3 or 4 days. So, we put our sniper up in the sniper's nest, and that's dissuaded them from popping up too frequently. Answer is yes.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Any other questions? Cool. Here's your ROE. Don't target, destroy civilian infrastructure. Again, don't make my job more difficult. You guys can engage ISIS, Taliban, or the paramilitary guards without any restriction, as long as you're not destroying the civilian infrastructure. You may only engage Northern Alliance if you're fired upon, and if it is utterly necessary to preserve your life or civilians' lives. Make sense on the ROE?
Makes sense.
Cool. To answer your question about just not blowing these people up, aside from the AA net and the friggin' paramilitary force having more than just standard man pads that they have access to, the answer for that one is that it's a religious site and we're minimizing structural and collateral damage. All of these guys have taken refuge, and then rather taking a step back. ISIS and Taliban, they're occupying civilian cities. The point of this is not to just kill these people. That's your guys' mission. You're the direct action. That's your job. Our job is to make this viable so that coalition forces can push back in here and have us actually win this war in Afghanistan bloody finally. So that's the reason why we just haven't bombed the living hell out of them. That kind of makes sense to whoever was asking that question.
Makes a lot of sense. Yep. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, it's about that. Anybody have any questions? We have.
So, Mark, at this time, you're saying we're moving our AOs and that infiltrating, exfiltrating might be very difficult. So, in my opinion, setting up FOP out in the field would be the best thing for each team, is what you're getting at?
Certainly not a fob. I don't think you could get the
Or just like
equipment out there. I'd recommend a mini camp, a little OP, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
Get set up, standard reconnaissance ops. Get yourself into the field, somewhere where they can't find you. Get a little base of operations going. Conduct some initial operations out of there. Figure out where you're going, what you're doing, and which way is up.
Copy that.
What I would do in your position.
Excuse me for the vast amount of questions coming from myself.
No, you're
Regarding
totally fine.
ANA and AMP, even though they pulled out of the region, should we expect any chance of them returning in force?
No.
Or are they completely out of the region?
No, they have gone out. They've
But
left
they're
their
being the usual
friggin'
sheepfuckers
BTRs.
they are.
Yes,
They ran
yes.
off.
They've left their frickin' up armored, this kind of stuff. It got so bad they just decided, nah, we're not even gonna bother with this. Some of them just hanged it up, hung it up, and just went home. The people who lived up here hung up the uniform. They went home. They want nothing to do with it, or they joined ISIS or the Taliban, as they do. Everybody
That's
else, they up and they left, and they're not coming back unless somebody basically points a gun at them and says, "Go back up there." It's bad up here. I've told you.
Yeah, hopefully not too bad. Regarding ANA, ANP, since we might have had defectors go to either the Taliban or ISIS, even though you were talking about BTRs, lower tier block BMPs, that shit like that, should
Yeah.
we expect any medium to heavy armor such as earlier series T-72s, T-60s around that era, or is that unknown?
Short answer is it's unknown. My intel suggests no. From what we've seen in the field over the last little bit, and from what the informants that we have in country are telling us, the answer is no. We haven't seen any of them out and about. It looks like the coalition partners were able to withdraw most of the heavy assets, so we don't have to be worrying about that too much. But again, as I said, we know basically nothing about everything up here. We're trying to piece together the picture, so the short answer is unknown. The long answer is probably not.
Understood.
Any other questions? And Bohannon, I do appreciate the questions because, you know, more you guys know, the less you guys are, less likely you are to get killed and the less paperwork I have to fill out back at headquarters.
You can do the paperwork. I'll do the dying.
Yeah, well,
Get
you know,
that
that's how it
agreement there.
normally goes.
Yeah.
Do your best not to. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
No question.
Not a question. Okay, any other questions? Cool. Lieutenant Bernard, do you have anything you'd like to add from our resident ODA team leader?
No, I just sit here at the base all day, man. I think there's some. If you guys need tents, we may have a stockpile of some tents over there by the
Oh yeah,
rest of the
we
gear,
had
the
them flown
supplies and
in
stuff.
this morning over on that side. So when you guys, if you guys need anything else, you can go grab it from over there. So if there's no other questions, then you guys are dismissed. Don't take my bunk. You guys are free to use this building over here as an initial kind of planning thing between your HQs. As soon as the rest of your guys get flown in, I think that should be, I don't know, 20-30 minutes here as soon as they're ready to go back at the Herat Air Base. You guys are good to basically step off whenever. You can find the encryption stuff in there as well, and the CTAB stuff to contact me back at base. So, if there's no other questions, you guys are dismissed. Welcome to Cop Endurance.
Thank you,
Boy,
Mark.
it's like the Disney trip they never
Oh
gave.
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. File out.
You know what I want to know, man?
What's that?
What?
How did that guy become the leader of the Taliban when he's got such a tiny ass beard?